My husband's first love encountered turbulence on her flight, and I managed to steer the situation to safety in the cockpit, successfully executing an emergency landing half an hour later, but my husband believed I deliberately hit the turbulence to frighten his first love. Moo Moo has a fear of heights. How dare you put her through this? I'll make you pay 100 times over. He bound my hands and feet and hung me from the wing of his private jet. Ordering his assistant to deliberately hit every patch of turbulence along the way, I struggled and begged for mercy, using my professional knowledge to warn him that lives would be at stake, only to be met with his cold mockery. Now you realize lives are at stake. See if you dare abuse your captain's authority again. My heart-wrenching cries for help were drowned in the roar of the engines, my 3-month pregnancy dissolving into blood that stained the clouds for miles. 2 hours later, my husband, looking at the prayer beads in his hand, was momentarily moved by compassion. Let Qin Jing come up, eat her fill before going back down to continue her punishment. No one answered. My internal organs had long since shattered under the high-altitude pressure. Why isn't that jealous woman Qin Jing shouting outside anymore? Has she learned her lesson? B-Boss Fu, maybe we shouldn't keep going. Madam has been hanging outside for 2 hours already. The assistant in the driver's seat was trembling all over. Fu Huaibei let out a disdainful snort. Only 2 hours. That jealous woman's life is as tough as her mouth. She could hang for another 2 hours without a problem. The assistant wiped away a cold sweat. But the troposphere is freezing. With temperatures of -40 to 50 degrees Celsius, the lady is dressed so lightly. Is that so? I must have overlooked that. Fu Huaibei rubbed the string of Buddhist prayer beads on his wrist. A flicker of hesitation flashing in his eyes. At that moment, another turbulent air current appeared before the windshield. Fu Huaibei narrowed his eyes, as if making up his mind. See that air current ahead? All right, this is the last one. After we hit it, we'll let her down. The assistant responded meekly. Bang! The aircraft shook violently, with red emergency lights flashing incessantly. Fu Huaibei himself had to be steadied by several bodyguards just to remain seated. Su Miu walked out of the cabin, removed her eye mask, and stretched with a soft yawn. Brother Fu tilde. Fu Huaibei spread his legs to let her sit in his lap and asked with concern, Moo Moo, are you scared? Su Miu shook her head like a rattledrum. Brother Fu, I've already said. As long as you're by Moo Moo's side, Moo Moo isn't afraid of anything. Fu Huaibei gently pinched her cheek. Su Miu giggled sweetly, then suddenly, as if remembering something, exclaimed anxiously, oh no. I promised to let Sister Qin down as soon as I woke up, but silly me accidentally overslept. How long has it been? I hope Sister Qin isn't angry. Phew, I'll go apologize to her. Apologize? I almost burst out laughing. By now, I was already a ghost. The extreme high-altitude pressure shattered my internal organs, the sub-zero temperatures froze my corpse into ice, and my lower body was drenched in blood. As the plane flew on, the airflow scattered my bloodstains, making them dance and swirl, even leaving a long streak of crimson bloodstain on the outer shell. I wonder what Fu Huaibei would think when he sees it, but at this moment, he could only look at Su Miu with heartache. Miu, you're not a fool. You're just too innocent and kind-hearted. Look, the plane is shaking so violently even I'm scared. Yet that woman Qin Jing, knowing full well about your fear of heights, deliberately hit turbulence out of jealousy just to frighten you. Did you know, when we hung her up? She lied to me saying she was pregnant just to get me to spare her, so she values her life that much after all. Then how could she have disregarded you and the lives of all the other passengers on the plane back then? My heart ached so badly I could barely breathe. Fu Huaibei not only denied my professional integrity, but he even thought I was lying about being pregnant. I looked at the blooded body swaying beneath the plane's wing. The moment I was hoisted up, I knew it would definitely cost lives, so I struggled desperately before the plane reached high altitude. To survive, I broke both my hands with sheer force, just to free myself from the ropes. I was so close, so very close to succeeding. But at that moment, Fu Huaibei opened the window, saw my desperate struggle, and flew into a rage. He concluded that I was being stubborn, turned to his assistant, and ordered, alter the set course, increase speed. seek out and collide with the air turbulence on purpose. I watched in horror as the swirling vortex of lightning-filled air rushed toward me. Then, despairingly, eternally, I closed my eyes. The plane gradually stabilized. Fu Huaibei, holding his prayer beads, instructed his assistant, "All right. Find a grassy area to land for now. Release Qin Jing temporarily. Just in time. I'm getting hungry too. Have her prepare dinner for everyone on this plane. If she does well, she'll be allowed to join us at the table and eat her fill. As for whether to keep her hanging after she's full, it depends on her sincerity in apologizing to Miu Miu later." The assistant responded nervously. Su Miu Miu pouted and gave him a playful punch. "Don't bully Sister Qin like that. She's always been very good to Miu Miu." Fu Huaibei sighed, looking worriedly at the girl in his arms. "Silly Miu Miu, you're just too naive. That's why you got tricked and tormented by a woman like Qin Jing. I can't always be by your side to protect you. You must grow on your own and learn to distinguish between genuine care and manipulative intentions. Brother Fu, you're the first person to tell Miu Miu these things. Everyone else only cares about how high Miu Miu can fly. Only you care whether Miu Miu is tired." Su Miu Miu said, deeply moved. The two gazed at each other quietly for a moment, their lips lightly touching before they began fiercely demanding from each other, but at the very last moment, Su Miu Miu abruptly pushed away the heavily panting man. "No, your wife now is Sister Qin. Miu Miu can't be the other woman." Fu Huaibei's eyes burned with almost uncontrollable desire as he rasped, "All right, wait for me a little longer. Only a clean version of me is worthy of touching the pure you." As he spoke, he planted a gentle kiss on her forehead, his movements as tender as if he were handling a precious treasure. Su Miu Miu's eyes flickered with a hint of triumph. Fu Huaibei couldn't see it. "But I did. I just find it ridiculous and laughable, not being the other woman. Then what were all those provocations she made in front of me? Time and again, she deliberately chose the flights I was piloting to take, wrapped in Fu Huaibei's coat, wearing his ever-present watch, and playing their affectionate phone call on speaker for the entire plane to hear. She flaunted how much her boyfriend doted on her. A flight attendant who knew the truth couldn't stand it and muttered a sarcastic remark as she passed by her seat. As a result, the moment they landed, she filed a complaint against the attendant. Because of this, I even personally led a team to bow and apologize to her, only for her to slap me across the face. Just so you know, Su Miu Miu is not someone to be messed with. Today was the first time she encountered turbulence on my flight, actually. That patch of turbulence wasn't particularly strong, and with my experience, I could handle it completely. But Su Miu Miu caused a public scene in the cabin, shouting that the captain's skills were inadequate, that she had slept her way into the position, and wailing, "She's going to get us all killed." Flight attendants immediately went to calm her down, but some passengers, already on edge, ended up getting physical with them. Watching all this unfold on the cockpit monitor, my palms were sweating. Half an hour later, after a successful emergency landing, passengers came one after another to apologize to the crew. Meanwhile, Su Miu Miu, her face dark with anger, hid in a corner to make a phone call. A few hours later, as I was in the lounge accepting a banner of gratitude from the passengers, several bodyguards suddenly appeared and dragged me away, dragged by my hair all the way to Fu Huaibei's private tarmac. I saw Su Miu Miu curled up in his arms, whimpering like a kitten. Fu Huaibei's eyes were red with rage as he slapped me twice, leaving me dizzy and seeing stars. "Miu Miu has a fear of heights. How dare you deliberately hit turbulence to provoke her? Qin Jing, you're not fit to be a captain. You're not even fit to be human. Fine. You love hitting turbulence so much. Today I'll let you experience it to your heart's content." Several bodyguards tied me to the airplane wing, and I screamed in terror, "Fu Huaibei, what you're doing could kill someone. I'm pregnant. I'm carrying your child in my belly right now." Fu Huaibei sneered, "I never thought you'd fabricate such an outrageous lie just to escape a minor punishment. Did you know, I saw with my own eyes when you went to the hospital to get the IUD." He refused to listen to any more of my protests and carried the unconscious Su Miu Miu, who had cried herself into a faint, into the cabin. At this moment, as the two of them were still engaged in their intimate frolicking, the assistant rushed in frantically. "Bad news. President Fu, Madam has already gone cold. Is it cold? What do you mean? Fu Huaibei asked in surprise. The assistant swallowed hard and said fearfully, Madam, shows no signs of life, and her body has frozen into ice. A flicker of tremor passed through Fu Huaibei's eyes. Just as I wanted to take a closer look, his gaze had already turned fierce again, acting. Just watch her act. Qin Jing is the ace pilot selected from thousands. She must have undergone special training for high-altitude situations long ago. Right now, she's just activated her body's self-defense mechanism, feigning death. Go find a heater and warm her body for a while. Once the ice melts, she'll be fine. Then have her come see me. The assistant was stunned. Mr. Fu, your wife has already. Whose orders are you following? Fu Huaibei interrupted impatiently. Am I your boss? Or is that woman? The assistant lowered his head helplessly. I'll go grill it right away. After he left, Su Miu chided. Brother Fu, don't be so harsh. Getting close to that jealous woman brings misfortune. Fu Huaibei said angrily. Look at Assistant Li. After spending too much time with her, he doesn't even listen to me anymore. Miu, remember, even if she apologizes to you later, don't soften and forgive her. A scheming green tea like her deserves to be left hanging outside as punishment. My entire body trembled, and tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. I was just foolishly wondering if this man would feel even a hint of remorse after my death. How utterly ridiculous. All the mistakes, all the faults, lie solely in my belief that he loved me. Back then, Fu Huaibei and Su Miu were the internet's favorite couple, the Buddhist prince of Beijing and the little Chipao flower. But Su Miu said she wanted to study abroad and broke up with him. To win her back, Fu Huaibei flew back and forth between domestic and international destinations 300 times a year, until he saw me on a flight and stopped his pursuit. Later, when he proposed to me, he said that to him, I was a stunning first sight, an instant recognition of his lifelong destination. After marriage, he wanted me to quit my job to prepare for pregnancy and bear an heir for the Fu family. But I love my flying career and don't want to leave my post at the peak of my energy. We started arguing and fighting, and at that moment, Su Miu returned, saying, Sister Qin really doesn't know how to cherish what she has. How happy it would be to have a child with Brother Fu. This is Miu's dream. A dream that can never come true. Sob. Seeing them getting close again, I decisively asked for a divorce, but Fu Huaibei refused. In a fit of anger, I went to the hospital to get an IUD. Only to find out I was pregnant. After having the child, my thoughts changed. Just as I was seriously considering resigning, Fu Huaibei began to distance himself from me. Turns out, he had seen me going to the hospital for the IUD that day. But does that give him the right to torment me relentlessly to death? How dare you? Su Miu's stomach growled. Fu Huaibei laughed. Silly, hungry now. Then he turned angrily toward the cargo hold. Why hasn't that jealous woman gotten up to cook yet? It's okay. Brother Fu, this little bit of hunger is nothing to Miu. Miu got used to being hungry when abroad. No one cared whether Miu was well fed or warm. The heartache in Fu Huaibei's eyes was almost overflowing. Miu, be good. I'll go see what Jing Qin is up to right now. Later, I'll make her kneel and bring the food to you. With that, he strode to the cargo hold and kicked the door open. As soon as he entered, he frowned. What are you doing? It stinks so bad. The assistant, sweating profusely, kept his head down and didn't dare to answer. Around him stood several equally nervous bodyguards, while over a dozen heaters were running simultaneously in the cargo hold, and I was right in the middle of these heaters, wrapped in a blanket. Fu Huaibei came swearing towards me and kicked the blanket. It's scorching hot. Get up now. Miu wants to eat the chilled lobster you made. The next second, he grimaced and retracted his foot in pain. Damn, that hurts. What the hell is so hard? Just as I was about to lose my temper, my corpse was kicked by him, rolling out from under the blanket. After being frozen to the extreme and then melted by high heat, my skin split open, revealing ghastly white bones, with my lower body covered in solidified black blood, and my bound limbs and head were now twisted at an inhuman angle. My bulging eyes were wide open, staring directly at Fu Huaibei. Fu Huaibei staggered back several steps, his back slamming against the cabin wall as a horrifying scream tore from his throat. But soon, Fu Huaibei regained his composure, his gaze icy as it swept over his assistant and the group of bodyguards. "How much did Qin Jing pay you?" The assistant looked bewildered. Fu, President Fu, scaring Miu Miu wasn't enough, and now you've teamed up with her to frighten me. Just because you know I sincerely believe in Buddhism, you think placing a dummy here would scare me? How little you think of Fu Huaibei. I'm just heartbroken. I've fed and cared for you all so well, only to raise a pack of ungrateful wolves colluding with Qin Jing. The bodyguards and assistant exchanged glances, at a loss for words. At that moment, hearing the commotion of an argument, Su Miu Miu also rushed over. "Brother Fu, what's it is?" Seeing the horrifically mutilated corpse on the ground, Su Miu Miu screamed in terror and threw herself into Fu Huaibei's arms. Fu Huaibei quickly softened his expression to comfort her. "Don't be afraid, Miu Miu." He covered her eyes with heartache. "It's just a dummy from a prank. Qin Jing is really despicable. To escape my punishment, she actually used a dummy to deceive everyone. These ungrateful wretches are all in cahoots with her." After speaking, he glared fiercely at the group of subordinates before him. "You have 5 minutes left. Hand over Qin Jing's whereabouts. Otherwise, I'll make you experience the same taste of being hung from a plane as her." A bodyguard's expression changed repeatedly, finally unable to hold back, and stood up on the spot, cursing. "Fu Huaibei, do you even have a fucking brain? Your wife is already dead. You've tortured her into this state. You'd better start thinking about how to explain this to the police." Several bodyguards nearby quickly covered his mouth, but it was too late. "You, Chen Kun, is it?" Fu Huaibei's eyes blazed with fury. "I remember your mother needs a large sum for chemotherapy. What, wasn't the salary I paid you enough, so you teamed up with Qin Jing, you?" The assistant quickly slapped Chen Kun to the ground, then turned to Fu Huaibei with flattery. Chen Kun is uncultured and spoke out of impulse. "Please don't take it to heart, President Fu. Madam, Qin Jing must have fled as you said, but she's so capable. We really don't know how she managed to escape." Only then did Fu Huaibei's expression ease slightly. "He led everyone in turning the entire plane upside down to search for any trace of me. I couldn't help but find it utterly absurd and ridiculous. I was already dead to him. What else could he possibly hope to find?" After searching the entire plane to no avail, Fu Huaibei stormed off in frustration. When he saw the bloodstains on the plane's exterior, he froze for a brief moment, but soon, his anger flared even stronger, playing these tricks over and over again. "Qin Jing, you've truly crossed the line with me. Don't think just because I follow Buddhism, I won't dare to do anything to you for real. I know you're hiding in the shadows, laughing at me. Fine, listen up. I, Fu Huaibei, don't want you anymore. A petty, stubborn woman like you, who refuses to admit her mistakes and puts on an act, isn't worthy of being my wife." With that, he yanked off the wedding ring from his ring finger and hurled it fiercely at the bloodstain on the plane's body, producing a sharp clink. Su Miu Miu followed nervously. "Brother Fu, is Sister Qin really? Don't be afraid, Miu Miu." Fu Huaibei pulled her into his arms and declared domineeringly, "With me here, you have nothing to fear. I'll go find a divorce lawyer right now. Since Qin Jing doesn't want to come out, then she can stay there forever. We'll get engaged next week." I stared at the ring that had fallen to the ground. So, marriage was just a trivial matter in Fu Huaibei's eyes. Dazedly, I recalled that our first meeting was also on a plane that had encountered an accident. Back then, I clearly did the same thing as today, managing to avert disaster and execute an emergency landing. But the Fu Huaibei of that time was different from today's. He said he was drawn to my extreme dedication to work and profound respect for life. He pursued me in every possible way, and when I asked him about the things I saw online between Su Miu Miu and him, he firmly told me that it was all in the past. This man chased after me for 3 years. That year, amid heavy snowfall, his parents opposed our relationship due to my family background, took back his money and car. Yet he walked for 3 hours just to see me. That year, in the pouring rain, at my father's funeral, he held an umbrella for me the entire way, letting himself get soaked, saying that from then on, he would love me in place of my father. Everyone says I, Qin Jing, Must have burned the right incense in my past life to have married the right person in this one. I used to believe that too, until Su Mumo returned to the country, no matter when, with just one call from her. Fu Huaibei would immediately abandon me and rush to her side. Mumu just returned to the country and is finding everything inconvenient, so I need to go help her. Mumu isn't feeling well. So I'm accompanying her to see the doctor today. We won't be celebrating the anniversary. His heart was split in two, but my half was confined within boundaries, growing smaller and smaller. Originally, before Su Mumu appeared, Qin Jing was capable of love. After Su Mumu came into the picture, like moonlight overshadowing the stars, Qin Jing was rendered insignificant in comparison. Am I foolish? But I've already proposed a divorce, giving him and Su Mumu my blessing. Why does he still torment me like this? Just because Fu Huaibei is the favored son of heaven, does that give him the right to declare that only he can initiate the divorce? I pleaded desperately when he mercilessly ordered my limbs to be hung up. All I received in return was the endless coldness in his eyes. Fine. Qin Jing, you've always wanted a divorce. Today, I'll grant your wish, but make no mistake, once we're divorced, you'll no longer be under my protection. Fu Huaibei, today. You'll pay the price for what you did to harm Mumu. I was trapped on the plane I loved most in my life, watching my favorite clouds and sunlight turn into deadly nooses lunging at me. Fu Huaibei, he turned all my passions into an inescapable doom that would be the death of me. My corpse was thus carelessly left behind in the cargo hold by Fu Huaibei. For him, the most pressing matter now is his marriage with Su Mumu. They announced their engagement online, flaunting their love extravagantly, and received countless blessings from netizens. So sweet, my favorite CP is finally back. I always knew they'd find their way back to each other, but some netizens raised questions. What about Qin Jing? When did she and President Fu get divorced? How come there's no news at all? These questions were either drowned out by other well-wishes or met with sharp retorts. Who cares where she is now? I always said she was the one who came between President Fu and Mumu. Exactly. Qin Jing was the real homewrecker. President Fu finally saw through that woman. These malicious rumors slandering me have caused me immense pain, and what's even more absurd is that Fu Huaibei personally liked these comments. This further incited the CP fans to launch a new wave of digging into my past and hurling abuse, flooding my airline's private messages with complaints. I recall when Fu Huaibei and I first announced our marriage, the online abuse directed at me was just as overwhelming. But what did Fu Huaibei do back then? He remained indifferent, saying that the innocent need not prove their innocence, and our happiness need not be displayed to others, so this is how he behaves when he favors someone. Fu Huaibei and Su Mumu's engagement banquet was held at the most luxurious hotel in the city. The parents-in-law wore expressions of immense satisfaction. Once upon a time, they disliked me so much that they even held my wedding with Fu Huaibei twice, because they didn't want to have any contact with my poor relatives. At this moment, they are being affectionate with Su Mumu's parents, full of praise, saying Su Mumu is their ideal daughter-in-law. Amidst this joyous and lively atmosphere, an unexpected person appeared, and I widened my eyes in shock. It's my mom. She broke free from the bodyguard's grip, rushed in front of Fu Huaibei, and slapped him across the face. You treacherous scum! What promises did you make to Jingjing's father back then? Have you forgotten everything? How could you betray Jingjing like this? Where is my Jingjing now? Hand her over. She must have suffered terribly. In an instant, I could no longer hold back, and tears gushed forth like a spring. Mom, I'm sorry, I can no longer fulfill my filial duties for you. Fu Huaibei flew into a rage. Guards, drag her away, call the police, call the police. No, don't treat my mother like this. My soul is in such agony that it feels like it's about to collapse. I screamed desperately, wishing I could stab Fu Huaibei 1,000 times. But now, I'm just a ghost. I can only watch helplessly as my mother's frail body is dragged away mercilessly by the bodyguards. While my own steps remain bound to Fu Huaibei's vicinity, unable to move, Su Mumu steps forward, putting on a pitiful act with tears in her eyes. Brother Fu, what was that? Fu Huaibei held her hand and comforted her softly. Don't be afraid, it's that bitch Qin Jing's mother. once I find Qin Jing, I'll sue both her and her mother in court." After the engagement banquet, Fu Huaibei took his assistant to the balcony and questioned him in a low voice. "Haven't you found Qin Jing yet? Hurry up and make her come out to apologize to Miu Miu, and have her publicly declare the divorce." The assistant trembled with fear. "President Fu, we've tried our best, but we still can't find any trace of Madam." Trash! Fu Huaibei's face was filled with rage as he slammed his hand against the balcony railing. "She must be hiding at her mother's place, deliberately sending her mother to cause trouble. Does she really think I can't see through her little tricks?" The assistant looked up. His eyes filled with unspoken words. By the time he returned from the balcony to the banquet hall, most of the guests had already left. Only Su Miu Miu remained, stepping forward to affectionately loop her arm through Fu Huaibei's. "Brother Fu, now that we're engaged, Miu Miu belongs to you. Miu Miu can finally rest assured and entrust herself to you." Unexpectedly, Fu Huaibei actually refused. He pushed Su Miu Miu's arm away, avoiding eye contact. "Miu Miu, I still have some work at the company tonight. Let's talk about this in a couple of days." With that, he left. Su Miu Miu grew anxious behind him, taking off her clothes while chasing after him. But even when she was almost completely naked, Fu Huaibei only hesitated for a moment before taking off his coat to drape over her, then turned and walked away. After leaving the parking lot, Fu Huaibei didn't head to the company. He drove straight to a nearby bus stop, the location his assistant had just reported. "Where the bodyguards had driven my mother, I saw my mother crouched under the bus stop sign, tears and snot streaming uncontrollably down her face as she repeatedly dialed my number, murmuring to herself, 'Jing, where on earth have you gone? Why aren't you answering Mom's calls?' Witnessing this scene, my heart felt as if it were being torn apart, and I could barely breathe." Fu Huaibei kept staring at my mother, not uttering a word for a long time. After what seemed like an eternity, he suddenly slammed on the accelerator, and the car soon vanished into the night. After stopping at another entrance, Fu Huaibei suddenly began smoking frantically, one cigarette after another, until the sky began to lighten. Finally, as if he had made up his mind, he stepped on the accelerator again. I recognized this. It was the direction to the tarmac. Was he finally going to confirm all of this? This tarmac, this plane, it was originally a gift from Fu Huaibei to me. He said he knew how much I loved the aviation career, and by giving these to me, even if I were to be fired by the airline one day, I could still pursue my passion. At that time, I was deeply moved. But how did we end up where we are today? Due to a busy career, I never once flew this plane all these years. And the first time I boarded it, unexpectedly became my final resting place. Fu Huaibei slowly walked into the cargo hold, where the stench had already become unbearable. He continued cursing incessantly, "Qin Jing, what the hell are you up to? What kind of devilry are you pulling this time? Don't let me catch you, or else I swear I'll really kill you this time." But as he kept cursing, he gradually fell silent and walked over to turn on the cargo hold's light. My corpse is still lying in the center, already so decomposed that it's almost unrecognizable, with maggots crawling wildly between the skin and exposed bones. But this time, Fu Huaibei wasn't as terrified as when he first saw the corpse. He was just furious, exceptionally furious. "Qin Jing, don't mess with me. How could you possibly die? I never allowed you to die. Come out, you come out right now. Don't try to fool me with a dummy." Just as he was losing his temper, the sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the cabin door. Fu Huaibei's face lit up with joy. "Qin Jing, you finally decided to show up," but his hopes were dashed. The person who entered was the bodyguard named Chen Kun. He glanced indifferently at Fu Huaibei and explained, "President Fu, have you forgotten? It was you who ordered us to guard the cargo hold to see if Miss Qin would come out to cause trouble again." Fu Huaibei's face turned ashen as he coldly spat out the word, "Leave." Chen Kun turned and walked away, and in his eyes, I caught a glimpse of resentment. The lights were fully on, and Fu Huaibei seemed to finally begin examining my corpse seriously. His hands traced over my festering skin, the dried bloodstains. When he reached my abdomen, his entire body suddenly trembled in panic, and he pulled out his phone. Only then did I see that he had recently posted a thread on his phone: "What happens if you tie someone to an airplane wing for 2 hours?" Now, this post has been completely flooded with overwhelming criticism from netizens. "This could kill someone. You idiot. What a stupid question. I thought I was browsing the idiots bar. Haha, why don't you try it yourself?" OP. Fu Huaibei flipped through the pages one by one, then suddenly let out a maddened roar. "I don't know, I just don't know. I truly didn't know that it would cost lives. Qin Jing, you know. I've never been the sharpest tool in the shed since I was a kid." Listening to Fu Huaibei's words, I was actually surprised. So, he remembers too. Fu Huaibei and I were elementary school classmates back then. At that time, he was always bullied by other students because he was slow-witted and had poor grades. Only I protected him and let him copy my homework. Back then, Fu Huaibei's eyes were filled with pure admiration. He said he would marry me when he grew up. Years later, we unexpectedly reunited on a plane. I thought he didn't recognize me, but I still felt it was fate. But it turned out he actually knew it was me. Then why is it that every time I treat him well, all I get in return is his relentless and unscrupulous harm? Heavens, why is this happening? Driving back home, Fu Huaibei acted like a madman, continuously calling my name while rummaging through everything to find any trace of me. First, he called my mother, demanding to know where she had hidden me. But all he heard on the other end was her furious scolding. Soon, he called my airport colleagues again, asking if they had seen me. He was utterly disappointed, because my colleagues told him that I had been considering resigning since I became pregnant, and they all thought I had already left the job. Pregnant? Impossible. Fu Huaibei still couldn't believe it. He rushed to my study and continued rummaging through my things until he finally found my printed resignation letter and a pregnancy test result. "No, how is this possible? You had an IUD." Fu Huaibei roared as he stormed out of the house, gathering his assistants and bodyguards in the middle of the night to head to the hospital in a grand procession. Under his threat, the doctor who had diagnosed me rushed over in the middle of the night and told him everything about my condition at the time. Fu Huaibei crouched on the ground in a daze, staring at the pregnancy test slip without saying a word, lost in thought. Just then, Su Miu Miu's exclusive ringtone sounded. Fu Huaibei still instinctively answered the call. "Brother Fu, you have to help Miu Miu. Someone is slandering Miu Miu online. It's even trending. You need to spend money to suppress it now." Fu Huaibei frowned and opened Weibo. The trending topic was an accusation from the wife of a famous director, claiming that her husband had been having affairs with actresses under the guise of filming for years. Su Miu Miu was one of them. When she went abroad back then, it wasn't for further studies at all. She went to fool around with that famous director. When his wife first discovered the truth, she believed his explanation that it was just a momentary lapse of judgment and endured the humiliation for the sake of his reputation. But years later, when the director got involved with a new actress again, his wife finally broke down and exposed everything. Reading the trending topics and listening to Su Miu Miu's tearful plea, Fu Huaibei remained silent for a long time before finally speaking up to demand answers. "What was the real reason you went abroad back then? Was it as she said?" Su Miu Miu stammered for a long time. Miu Miu was deceived by bad people. Miu Miu is very innocent." "Innocent?" Fu Huaibei suddenly laughed mockingly. "When you returned to the country, you told me that all these years, you had remained chaste for me, that you were still a pure girl. So all this time, I've been too embarrassed to touch you. But you know what? On the day of our engagement party, I found out you actually had reconstructive surgery there. Pure, innocent. Ha ha ha, you actually looked into this." "Fu Huaibei, you have no respect for my privacy," Su Miu Miu immediately shouted angrily. Fu Huaibei also scolded. "That's because I genuinely wanted to marry you. That's why I specifically had someone investigate. Qin Jing taught me this. When I married her back then, she told me that before entering a marriage, you must first ensure both parties are healthy." After saying this, he angrily hung up the phone. The assistant and a group of bodyguards watched him cautiously, not daring to speak. Fu Huaibei returned home once again. This time, he didn't rummage around aimlessly but instead quietly surveyed his surroundings. From large furniture like sofas and appliances to small household items like pots and pans. Everything here was carefully chosen together with love during our happiest times. All the gifts we exchanged during every holiday were treasured and meticulously preserved by me. Looking at these memories, Fu Huaibei could no longer hold back the sorrow in his eyes. He fell to his knees, covering his face in agony. What have I done? When I was a child, my biggest dream was to marry you, to have a stable and happy place with just the two of us, where no other bad people could reach. For the entire night, Fu Huaibei knelt on the ground like this, weeping in utter devastation. I watched coldly, but the resentment in my heart only grew stronger. Yes, it was you who betrayed the vow, so why isn't it you who's going to hell? As my resentment grew heavier, I could clearly feel my soul strengthening, to the point where I could even stir up a chilling wind. Wave after wave of chilling winds swept across Fu Huaibei's face. But unexpectedly, he wasn't afraid. Not only was he unafraid, he even seemed pleasantly surprised and said, "Qin Jing, is that you? Have you really died?" My ghost flickered faintly before him. "I'm dead, you killed me." Fu Huaibei panicked and rushed toward me, tearfully apologizing. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Yell at me, beat me to death, I don't know why I was so stupid." "I have nothing to say to you," I whispered in response. "If you want to die, go die by yourself. I don't care about your life or death, the only one I care about is my mom." Fu Huaibei trembled all over, then after a long pause, lowered his head in agony. A week later, Su Miumiu, who had been trending and universally condemned, suddenly vanished without a trace. Many assumed she had gone into hiding out of sheer embarrassment, waiting for the public outrage to die down before making a comeback. And I knew she would never return. Fu Huaibei sent her to northern Myanmar. When she tried to escape from the balcony, Fu Huaibei also discovered that she never actually had acrophobia, but none of that mattered anymore. After dealing with Su Miumiu, Fu Huaibei originally intended to turn himself in, but his parents, who had already learned the whole story, wouldn't allow it. They had previously bribed the best legal team in the country as a last resort, but more importantly, they needed to send Fu Huaibei abroad before the police noticed anything amiss, ideally to completely evade legal consequences. However, their plan failed. Chen Kun had long since united with other bodyguards and assistants who were constantly exploited by Fu Huaibei, and together they went to the police station to report the crime, bringing ample evidence including photos, audio recordings, and videos. But when the police arrived with their team, they couldn't find Fu Huaibei at the Fu residence. Fu Huaibei's parents were relieved, thinking he had already slipped away and fled abroad. Only I knew the truth, he hadn't left the country yet. At that very moment, he was on that plane, the same plane still carrying my corpse. When news came that Fu Huaibei's private plane was taking off, everyone present at the Fu family was astonished. Normally, when Fu Huaibei needed to fly, he would have his licensed assistant pilot handle it. Fu Huaibei himself didn't know how to fly a plane at all. If he was the one operating the aircraft now, wasn't that just a death wish? They guessed right, he's just going to his death. On the plane taking off at this moment, Fu Huaibei frantically operated various instruments, while my corpse lay quietly at his feet. Not a trace of panic showed on Fu Huaibei's face as he looked at my corpse and smiled. Flying a plane is easy, so easy, it's Jingjing's favorite thing to do, so I must learn it well too, swaying and swaying. The plane had already ascended above the clouds over the sea. Fu Huaibei took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and just let go. The plane plummeted completely, everything returned to nothingness. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.